got a question for you all. YouTube, should themed decks be more prominent in TEPPEN? Well, in my experience from a lot of other games that I play, I tend to find like there's a character, and I don't know other people are like this too, there's a character that you like and you kind of gravitate towards, or there's a deck style that you gravitate, or an archetype that you like, and you start to get attached to them, and you start to identify them as the player, and that's where you get, like, I'm a this main, I'm a that main, whatever. And I feel like TEPPEN could benefit a little bit more from this kind of, archetype themed deck kind of thing. And it's because, TEPPEN has had themed decks in the past with the unit tribes, humans, spirits, machines. Those have been, I would say, the most successful variations of themed decks within TEPPEN's lifetime. But I feel like they could really go in a lot more, dive into character-specific, series-specific type theme decks, and get, a lot of players interested in those kind of decks, because I see a lot of people, they come into the game, maybe post on Reddit like, hey, this game seems really cool, I'm kind of liking it, can I just make like a pure X deck, or can I just make like a Street Fighter deck? And you can kind of make those decks right now, but it's basically just a gimmick. So you're just kind of mashing cards together, it doesn't really make any sense, you're just doing it because it's cool, because you like the idea of it. So just to reiterate, I really think TEPPEN could benefit a lot more from these themed style decks, taking advantage of the iconic characters, the iconic series that they have across all the Capcom IPs. And I feel like just give something to the players a little bit more to attach to and fall in love with the game, just that little bit more. So we'll use, I guess, Street Fighter as a bit of an example and talk a little bit about the pros and cons that come with these themed style decks based around iconic characters and whatnot. All right, for the pros, there are gonna be 3 of them. First, I kind of already mentioned it, just give the players something to attach to, like for example, a Street Fighter deck. There's a bunch of Street Fighter cards, but you can't make them into a cohesive and strong deck. You're just slapping them together to be thematic, and it's a gimmick, and you're probably gonna lose a lot, and those few wins will be worth it, but it's gonna be frustrating. The second positive, I think, for adding themed decks is that you give this kind of long-lasting archetype for players to attach onto, especially those that are really into the point match and unlimited. If there's, say, a Ryu deck that uses different Ryus, you're like, every time you play a Ryu, or like reduce the cost of Ryus in your hand, or EX Pocket, then anytime a new Ryu comes out in a new set, then all the Ryu players are like, oh, what? And they're like, how can we use this Ryu? Does it fit in the deck? Does it make things better? And then you get some Ryu support stuff, and it could just be a cool way to kind of revitalize some of the excitement as far as like, oh, a random new Ryu got released, and suddenly it makes the old deck a lot better, and you can bring it back in unlimited and all that stuff. So I just think it's like a neat way to kind of let people bring in like that old hype for decks, because right now it's pretty much just, oh, new deck comes out, let's play the new stuff. Oh, new set came out, let's just play the new stuff, because it's kind of just better and better and better. And if you go back into, say, point match, you could play spirits and be like, all right, a new spirit came out, let's try it out. But you can't even do that. There's a little bit of debate whether those kind of archetypes should exist within standard, but maybe they revisit spirits in standard sometime, and it's awesome in standard, and then all unlimited players are freaking out because they're like, oh my gosh, we can do all this stuff with the old spirit stuff too, and like combos. So I think that having that ability to kind of revitalize hype for players who love a certain character or archetype, whenever a new one comes out, whenever new cards come out that could be used with it, it's just such a positive. It's hard to ignore. But I think you are all going to love the possibility of positive number 3. By adding in a themed deck, like let's say Ryus, or better yet, Street Fighters, we've got a lot of Street Fighter cards, and they're split up against, amongst a bunch of different colors. You got Ryu in red, you got Chun-Li in green, you got not Wesker, what am I thinking? Like Urian and M. Bison in black. Now, imagine if there was a change in the rules that said, well, instead of only playing one color, you play two colors, your MP cost gets reduced. What if all your cards, if all the cards in your deck, all the units, all the actions, if they are Street Fighter, your max MP will be 10, no matter how many different colors you add in. So you can play a themed deck, you can get different, abilities, you can kind of poke, grab a little destruction from black, grab a little damage from red, grab some shields from green, but as long as it's Street Fighter, it's cool. You can still play the 10 MP, you still get the max benefit. And that's just gonna, I feel like, really, provide so many ways for deck building to evolve, because not only can you have the monocolored decks, which are great, you can mix and match, play all the best cards. You could play themed decks like Street Fighter. You could play a themed deck for, Mega Man X, what do they call it? X-Zero, the Maverick Hunters. You could play that kind of themed deck. You could play a Resident Evil themed deck across all the different colors, red and black. Get the Jills, get the Wesker, and it's like, I feel like it would open up a lot of things in terms of deck building, a lot of creativity, and just provide a new way for players to build decks that's just going to really stick around, because that could be like a total rules change that lets people play their favorite series, their favorite characters all together without paying the heavy price of going down to 3 MP because you're trying to play 3 different colors in your deck, and it's a mess. And finally, let's talk about the cons, the negatives, because it's not all positive. As much as I think it could be very positive, there are some negatives. Now, one of them is going to be exposure, because if you come into the game and you're like, I love me some Street Fighter, I'm just going to play a Street Fighter deck, I don't care about all this other nonsense, then you might not get exposed to some of the other great series, some of the great other Capcom IP that you might actually really enjoy, but you're just kind of stuck into Street Fighter. And I think that is a negative, because with the crossover capability of TEPPEN, that is one thing they're probably looking for in the players, to be like, hey, these monsters from Monster Hunter kind of cool. I kind of like this Shara Ishvalda guy. So you don't get that, and I feel like you might pigeonhole some players, but some players, that's what they want, But I do think that is a negative, not being able to fully enjoy the immersive experience of TEPPEN and all that it has to offer with all these worlds colliding. The second negative point that is with the solo character decks, the solo series kind of themed style decks, if you will, is that they can be too strong, okay? Yeah, it's crazy. They can be too strong. And one of the issues with this is that, a color, it can be so strong that a color can lose its identity. Now, red is all about damage. Arguably, they need to find something else, because it's just damage. It's kind of tiring, right? They can't find the niche for red that isn't just damage. But imagine Ryu archetype comes out, and it's nasty, it's crazy, it's got shenanigans, it's got like he's punching, he's throwing Hadokens, it's doing way more than damage, and it's just better than everything. And hopefully this doesn't happen, because game design, R&D, play testing and stuff, but it can happen. And then what happens is red doesn't really feel like red anymore, and it's more like the colors become green, black, purple, and Ryu. Right? And that's not really what we're going for here. So there is that kind of balance of design where you can't have these solo character decks be so strong that they just obliterate the competition and we lose red to Ryu. And I just think that it just has to be said, because that's not a position you want to be in. And it's definitely occurred. There are some jokes in another game I play called Cardfight Vanguard that there's a clan called Kagero, but it's really just Overlords, because that's just the only one, that's the only Kagero deck that's ever going to be good. It's Overlords, and we don't want a situation where the only red deck that's ever going to be good is Ryu. So I got to bring up that con. Let me know what you guys think about this idea of theme decks. What are some of the positive and negatives in your mind? Would you want them? Have you been playing Teppen for a couple weeks, a couple months maybe, and you're just like, I just want to play. I just want to play a full Wesker deck, man. I like Wesker. I just want to play a full Wesker deck, and I want it to be good, and I want it to not be this stupid gimmick, because I've been playing it. It's a stupid gimmick. And if they did, follow through. Are you watching Teppen? Are you, hello? If they did follow through with this kind of idea of themed decks, what would be your favorite ideas? Do you like the concept of being able to play a certain series and play it across all colors? Would you want like specific, each hero has their own, themed deck? Maybe even, we got cards that get better if, you can only play, they only get their effect if it's a certain color of hero. Maybe there's some that are even better, but you have to play it with a specific hero. Could be pretty interesting. A lot of design space there for Teppen. I would like to see it. I think it would be really neat and allow players to just really find their kind of home in the game as, whether it's Street Fighter main or X main, and really just take that to the next level, because I know people have already done that. So that's all from me today. I hope you all enjoyed this conversation, this discussion. I cannot wait to hear what you think. And as we always do on the channel, keep on learning, having some fun with me, playing Teppen, and I'll see you around. Peace.